After a 7-year hiatus, the Ape franchise is back. This time around, there's a new director, brand new characters, and a new storyline to explore. Now, to be honest, like 6 or 7 months ago, I didn't really care about this movie, and it was mostly due to the reasons listed. A new director, and it's the guy who did the Maze Runner movies. No Caesar, no Andy Serkis. No thanks. However, in the past few weeks, I took it upon myself to watch all of the old Ape movies for the first time, and it's because of this that when it got closer to the release of Kingdom, I was getting hyped. As a massive fan of the criminally underrated Caesar trilogy, I was hyped but worried that Kingdom wouldn't deliver on the same scale as the Caesar trilogy did. But I'm happy to report that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is fantastic. So, the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes takes place generations after the death of Caesar. We're introduced to Noah, an ape living in a small secluded village, a peaceful village that raises eagles. One night, a neighboring tribe of apes wearing masks raids the village, captures many of its citizens, and burns the village to the ground. Noah, being left for dead after the massacre, starts off on a solo journey to save and to rescue his people from the evil ape tribe. So before I get into like what makes this movie so great, you're probably sitting there wondering, where does Kingdom rank amongst these 9 movies? Well, I'll start off by saying that it's definitely better than every movie in the original series of films from the late 60s and 70s, with the exception of the first one, because it's a classic and it rules. So then, where does it stand in the Caesar trilogy? Is it better? Is it worse? So for me personally, I would say that all 3 Caesar movies are better than Kingdom. But that doesn't make Kingdom bad. Kingdom is actually wonderful and quite frankly, one of the better movies I've seen this year. But for me personally, I do prefer the dark, moody atmosphere that Dawn and War brings, and ultimately, I think Caesar is a much more interesting character than our new protagonist, Noah. It's not that Kingdom's Noah is bad, I just personally prefer Caesar's journey. And you might say, well, that's not fair, man, given that we've seen the full arc of Caesar with 3 movies, and this is just Noah's first movie. However, even when I compare Rise to Kingdom, I still think Caesar's opening film is a much more compelling one from a character's point of view. But again, Kingdom is still excellent, just not on the same level as any of the Caesar films. But that's just me. So right off the bat, this film is absolutely stunning. I mean, my God, there might as well be real living, breathing, talking apes at this point because it looks so realistic. I can't stress how good the apes look in this movie, but maybe that's really no surprise because if there's one thing about all of these movies, whether they're good ones or bad ones, the apes always look incredible, and Kingdom is definitely no exception. I'm also happy that Wes Ball decided to keep the same spirit as the Caesar trilogy, and that Wes Ball actually shot a lot of this movie on location. I know it sounds ridiculous these days, but filming a big Hollywood blockbuster on location really makes a big difference. Even when there's an abundance of CGI on screen, it's still layered in a real location and helps flesh out the world and makes you believe it's a living, breathing place instead of like some painfully obvious green screen studio that comes off as phony. So, mad props to everyone involved here. They kept the same spirit as the 3 previous films, and I applaud them for that. They could have easily marveled the hell out of this thing, and they didn't. Some people might complain about the length here, but for me, the length was never really an issue. I didn't find it to be slow or dull, but again, I'm a pretty big fan of this franchise, so your mileage may vary. I also love that the climax was very small and not too over the top and ridiculous. I don't want to spoil what happens just in case you haven't seen it yet, but I'll just say that it involves water and it's absolutely thrilling. That's one thing I love most about these newer 8 movies. They're basically character driven dramas masquerading as action packed Hollywood blockbusters. These movies care more about setting up characters, conflicts, and plot more than they care about big, massive set pieces. And hell, I'd even argue that Kingdom's climax is technically the least big climax of these newer movies. And I think that's awesome. I don't want to be bombarded with explosions and over the top fighting. Some of these climaxes in modern blockbusters can be downright exhausting and uninteresting, so I'm glad Kingdom scaled back on its set pieces and focused more on character and plot. Now, I'm trying my best to withhold plot elements here because a lot of the plot isn't shown in the trailers and I don't want to give so much away, but I will say that Noah's introduction and journey is a welcome one. It was engaging enough for me to be invested in the film from frame one. If there is one complaint I have, it's that the villain shows up way too late in the movie and we don't really get a chance to know him. There's also a human character that shows up later in the film, and this actor is completely wasted. In fact, if they took this actor out of the movie would more or less be the same. Speaking of human characters, May is absolutely incredible. She basically stole the show for me, and to my surprise, they actually gave her things to do. and she has some big holy shit moments. She was awesome. Another aspect I love was some callbacks to the original movie, one of which was very, very interesting. The scene involving a little doll and a picture book. These two objects tied directly into the original, and it was a cool holy shit moment. The movie ends with an awesome cliffhanger, and even though my blood was pumping for more and I had a huge, huge smile on my face, I can't help but be a little concerned where the franchise goes from here. It's kind of implied that more humans will be coming into the picture, which could shake things up a bit, but I just hope that the writers are careful with this because we literally just got done with a three-movie arc where apes and humans fought each other. So I hope that's not where it goes, but we shall see. I highly recommend Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It's one of the best films of the year and a welcome addition to the Apes franchise. Please give this movie some love and your money and your time. Go see it in IMAX, go see it in standard. It's great. I hope you love it. I loved it. And yeah, see you on the next one.